What's up, everybody? Blaze over here at the Blue Chip Athletic Club podcast. I think we're going to start a new segment. It'll be either post or during workout, kind of, I don't know, we'll go like somewhere in the 5 to 15 minute cycle of a microdose of health and wellness stuff while I'm kind of riding a post workout high. I don't know. If somebody has a clever name, maybe you can hit me up and let me know what you think we could call these. Um, Definitely willing. Maybe I'll chat GBT it later. Today I'm gonna pop on and talk really quick about the power of consistency. Oh, and how important it is. Now, I I will say I am the first to admit that there's been times in my health and wellness journey that I've ridden the motivational highs and the motivational lows. Like, I guess as a kid, you could say, um, you kind of don't really understand, or you're not super in tune with it. You're just out there kind of like playing and doing your thing. But as you come into adulthood, you kind of get hit with, we'll call it freshman 15 when you go out to college, or the dad bod or whatever the thing kind of becomes. And a lot of that comes from a waning level of motivation, whether you got comfortable, whether you find yourself, in a position where you maybe sustained an injury and you weren't able to kind of move the way that you wanted to. And I feel for that, man. As a college athlete, I had a torn labrum in my shoulder. I had sprained MCL and meniscus in both of my knees. Um, and then, as I've kind of talked about on here before, I was like nearly unable to train in naval flight school because I was too heavy for the ejection seat of the plane I was learning to fly. So, talking about, like riding motivational highs and lows, like definitely have been there before myself. What I want to talk about more, though, is that, staying consistent in the things that you do in your health and wellness can just be so beneficial. And I talk about that, as I'm, post workout, riding a high, of course, um, in a motivational high, if you will, to do our first mobile walking edition of the podcast, which we'll start doing more of these, like I said before. But it's about building those kind of little wins to build a little bit of that confidence so that you can continue to show up and be more consistent with your health. So here's a good example. Let's say you're somebody who is a nightly drinker. You drink a beer a night every single day, come home, and it's your thing. It's part of your routine. How do you come back from work, kick your feet up, and you're cracking a beer or a bottle of wine, whatever you're kind of into. Let's say you decide that, hey, this is not necessarily the type of life I want to live. Maybe you've done some research. Maybe you're having a kid. Maybe your priorities have changed. Maybe you are developing some sort of a disease, and you're like, hey, I need to start to take my health more seriously. Start to wrangle my drinking in a little bit, and try and be a little bit better about it. Well, there's a couple approaches that people normally take. Actually, there's one approach that people normally take. They're like, I'm not going to drink now every single day for whatever, 3 weeks, or for 2 weeks, or for a week. They go and do that. It's super, super hard. You're riding your motivational high, and then I'll be damned. You finish. Here's my turnaround point. You finish that week, and then you're like, sweet, and then you're right back into it. You're yo-yoing right back to the thing that you were doing before, and it's not because you were unable to do it. It's because you rode your motivational high, and it wasn't something that you could sustain right now. And that, I think, is a really, really key term right now. Hey, what in your health and wellness can you sustain right now? What you likely could have done is you could have said, hey, on Mondays every single week, I'm going to forego a beer. You do it that first week, sweet. Now that's 6 days out of the 7 that you are now having nightly drinks. You do that for a week, You do that for 2 weeks, whatever. You're building a little bit of momentum. You're building a little bit of that, we'll call confidence, the calendar, showing up for yourself, setting a goal that's realistic. And then the next week, you're like, hey, maybe on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm going to try to not have a drink. And then lo and behold, sooner or later, you start to kind of see the needle moves in the direction you want it to. You didn't try to bite off more than you can chew. And then you find yourself being way healthier in the long run. Now, is it as glamorous? No. I'll be the first person to tell you that if you were a nightly drinker and then you went to having no drinks during the week, your health and wellness would drastically improve. But if it's not sustainable, it's not attainable. And it's really important to understand, that if you're not able to sustain whatever lifestyle, whatever diet, whatever, workout regimen, whatever that you're doing, then you're not going to be able to continue to burn that off. You'll just yo-yo back into what I'll call your state. For some people, that's a super high octane state. Maybe that's, hey, you're doing a workout every single day, you're going crazy, you're eating super well. That's great, fantastic. For most people, that's not the case. For most people, their we'll call norm is, hey, they're waking up, they're slamming a coffee on the way into work. Maybe you're eating breakfast, maybe you're not. You're not getting a lean protein source every day and every meal. You're probably over consuming, we'll call it the TED diet, the typical American diet, and then making that happen. So all of that to say, if you are somebody who is struggling in your health, find the ability to be more consistent, and then you're going to find that your health skyrockets. Good luck. This is 7 minutes too long. We'll chat with you guys in the next episode. Peace.